play safe, watch safe. The safety mechanics are for you guys too. Always do the right thing for you. Thank you very much. Now on to the thing we just warned you about.
Little by little, piece by piece, I take back what's been stolen from me. Little by little, piece by piece, until I'm complete. I got my eyes on you, and you got no clue what I'm supposed to do. I can't help myself. Little by little, piece by piece, I take back what's been stolen from me. Little by little, piece by piece, until I'm complete. No, you wouldn't take what's not yours. If you know who I am, when the night will fall, I'll haunt your dreams. Little by little, piece by piece, I take back what's been stolen from me. Little by little.
Hello, and welcome to the Place of Wrath and Tears. Tonight is going to start calmly, and of course, we're entirely certain that it's going to stay that way. Everything is going to be healthy and fine and well discussed and well considered. But we are beginning tonight in the theater restaurant, and it's fancy, so it's theater with an E, in the Tropicana, where the drink menu is literally as large as the rest of the menu. And it has, well, we'll get there. Dear Bethany is not here, but the lovebirds are. And so we are beginning this little voyage with the Van Horsts on parentheses, it's totally not a parentheses date night.
Yeah, we're going on a completely platonic, not romantic dinner between two siblings.
Yes, everything's fine.
Everything's fine.
Brother can take her out in her best jewelry and one of her lowest cut dresses.
Yeah. That's normal.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I'm really here as a chaperone so that other men don't bother her.
Of course.
And that's what we're going to go with.
Sure. Yeah, we won't unpack that at all.
We won't unpack that in any way, shape, or form.
We're not even going to read the label on that fucking box.
Oh, you don't need to. It's just got like toxic on it. You're just like, oh, I don't even need to get close to read the label on there.
Yeah.
Clara, who does generally want attention and to be in the center of the room, did ask if we could get like a table in a corner that's a little shadowed so she can at least play footsie with Matthew under the table.
He really actually like is touched by that in like a weird way, because he knows that that's in a way a sacrifice that she's making for intimacy with him. And like there's actually like a moment there where he's just like, oh.
Yeah.
Aww.
It's worth it.
So you're saying that maintaining the illusion is an act of love?
Don't you do this?
Then why are you here, sir?
No. Yeah, no. But yeah, he'll basically make sure that everything, that they have like a nice corner table, that they basically have the best menu that they've got to offer, et cetera, for that to have their dinner not date.
Yeah.
It's probably one of those round corner booths.
Yeah.
We can kind of sit next to each other and definitely play footsie, and Clara will occasionally molest his thigh.
That is probably reciprocated.
Yeah.
Let's all be honest. That's
Probably.
where we're at.
Yeah. Now I put it in our like game prep Discord, the menu, and I'm also going to throw it in the stream chat so that everybody can play along.
I need to relook at that.
Yeah.
It's large.
There's a it's a lot, my dude. It's a lot.
It
I
is
had to
a
Google some
lot.
stuff.
4 different kinds of Collins. There's a French 75 and a French 90, which is what Clara is drinking because it's champagne and brandy.
I'm just happy that someone knows. It's like I'm a classically trained chef. I went to culinary school. Like I did an old fashioned like stage, and there were some words that I didn't recognize, and I had to Google stuff, and I was embarrassed. I felt like one of my chefs would come back and take my toque from me.
I'm over here like I'm a rube, so I'm just like, I certainly have a drink.
Yeah, right. I have booze.
I don't know what the King Alphonse is, but I feel like Clara orders it from Matthew on the name alone.
Absolutely. Yeah. And you guys,
I'm not curious what it is.
And like, I would absolutely love to sit here on the stream and talk about all of this with you guys, like all night, because like you're my friends and I love talking to you, but we should probably, we are not actually going to get lost into it.
Yes.
That's valid.
Really? King Alphonse, according to cocktailbuilder.com, which sounds legitimate. I don't know. It's got good formatting. It is 2 1/2 ounces of Kahlua.
Wow. Is that it?
With a 1/2 ounce of heavy motherfucking cream floated on top with a spoon. Oh my God. And Curtis put the menu up on.
Yes.
He's so good. He's so good. Subscribe to the Patreon because Curtis deserves to be paid more for the work he does.
God.
Like he is so good.
I like that. So like the idea that she orders this for him and he's just like.
She thought it sounded fancy. Then it shows up and she's like, "Do you want my champagne? I'll drink."
I'm gonna get a Manhattan.
Good choice. You're never wrong. I didn't know.
It's just like he like looks at it, and then just is like, "No, I'm good. I'm gonna go back to old traditional. Maybe a scotch later on."
Oh yeah. And you're ready to hurt like for the rest of the night. A glass of 12-year scotch is $1.75. So, money isn't real.
Money is not. But yeah, he'll basically, get set up.
And this is dinner in a very nice restaurant. So this is the full service.
Mm-hmm. So
this is a peacock's tail of cutlery spreading out like across the plates, like the tomb of an Egyptian king. It's lots of bowing and scraping, and with the crumb brushes and things disappearing and appearing and being whisked away, and all of that ritualistic style that comes with cuisine.
And we should get a chance to celebrate. I know that the announcement was shocking, but still happy things.
Yes. And to new beginnings.
New beginnings, my dear.
At some point, we will need to talk about how those will progress, but not here.
Not here. We've got a little bit of time before things become unable to be hidden, I'm certain. And maybe we'll end up back home.
I was actually going to ask you about that. I know that we've been doing a lot here, but I have been getting more and more calls from back home and there's been more and more notice that I haven't been there. We originally thought this was going to be a much shorter vacation. I know that you were interested in doing work with making a review here, but do you think that us going home at least for a bit would be something that you and Bethany would both be all right with?
I think home for a bit would be smart. I miss it, I know, and Papa was always so hands-on, and I know you are too. You're excellent at the business. We didn't expect to be out here that long, but going back for a few weeks would be nice. And we can see our doctor, not the very nice gentleman here who has taken very good care of us, but isn't ours.
He's not ours.
No.
Yeah. Salazari is not an OBGYN. He is not.
No.
And I know that ours would be willing to have the discretion needed.
Exactly. So going home wouldn't be a poor choice. I still want to get into the proving grounds. I don't know how I'm going to sneak you in with me, but that man certainly promised to take me on a tour.
My suggestion is going to be that we use essentially a two-pronged way of getting in. You can get more information from him and, see what you can see, whereas I can also start using the contacts and the information that you glean to be able to get in so that we can have a better foothold. I think that that's probably the best way that we could do it.
If he gives me a tour and I drink enough or take enough whatever that I'm able to see things better, I could at least know where some of the places of power are. So we can go directly to places that might break through the illusion or be more connected to Metropolis instead of us wandering around this very highly secure government space without any clue. So hopefully I will be able to see something when I go with him. I'm not as good at seeing through the illusion as you and Bethany are, but I'm good at watching places and locations at least.
I know that sometimes when you've done that, there have been issues.
Once. There was one issue, one time, and I've gotten better at it since then.
All right. I what I'll just say is if something like that happens, you just shove him at it and run.
Oh, yes. We'll be in his car. He'll drive fast. It'll be fine. He has to know that strange things are going on.
I think he's aware, but he came across to me as the best way that I could put it would be someone of the faith.
Yes.
That's fair.
Which I think is going to be necessary. When we get to Metropolis, things are still broken there. They're going to need power and energy and inspiration, and we need people of faith, people who will follow blindly, people who we can use to rebuild. So
you had talked before about the possibility of cultivating that here. I know that that's something that had to fall a little bit by the wayside for a bit, but do you think that's something that you would be able to or want to pick up more?
I think so. I need to know how to focus it more first. I can get people to believe in me. I can get people to show up. Like if we do a show or we do something dedicated to Metropolis, I know that I can sell it. But once I get that energy or those believers or that whatever, what do I do with it? I still don't know how all of this works. I don't even know how Bethany and I got to Metropolis. I'm curious to try again. I don't know if I want to do much heroin again, but it worked. She followed me down, and if I can do that again and you can follow me down, using both of you see things, can get in touch with things. I don't know. I was just
Do it.
we'll try. We should try, because if we can figure out a reliable way to at least start getting there, then we can know how to fuel power there. Then we can know how to bring other believers.
One of the issues that I see us having is that Bethany has her way of doing things. And it works for her because the way that she's seen the world, it's always been part of her. But that's not how we are. And if this is something that happened to you more when you were using altered perceptions,
Yes.
we know that that's a way that you can do that. We need to find how we, the two of us, are able to tap into what we are, because it's not Bethany's way. And I think that one of our issues has been that we keep trying to follow in footsteps, but we're connected to each other. We're part of each other. We've always been together, but the paths that we take can't be the same because we aren't the same. And I think that makes us in many ways stronger because it diversifies, but it also makes it so that we have literally no roadmap.
No. What happened the other night is the closest I feel like I've gotten. And there were people there. There were some other people hiding there. And one that helped us said that this is where he comes in his dreams. I feel like much like you've gone to, I went to Metropolis when I used to have those nightmares. I think you have too.
Same. Yeah.
This is infecting or calling on other people. So that's one way to access it. I don't know. We're just going to have to try again. But I want to try with you. I love you.
He will take her hand under the table and squeeze it tightly. Whatever we do, we're going to do together. And even if at some point we have to walk different paths, we will go to the same place. And that's what's the most important thing, is that we have to remember to find each other. I think that's more important than going the same way.
We can't rule without each other. And Metropolis needs us, all three of us, together, doing what we do, knowing how to lead, having the energy to fix things again. We don't even know why it's broken.
We only know that there's an empty throne. And if there's an empty throne, then that's why it needs us.
Why Daddy found all of us. And that's why this baby is good. We have a chance for both of our blood to ring true for whatever. It would be nice to live forever. I would love to sit on a throne in Metropolis and rule forever, but I don't know.
We can't rely on it.
No, I don't think getting through the illusion makes us immortal. I think it just makes us more powerful.
Well, we have no idea what it does. And that's why planning for every contingency is, I guess, the right way to do things.
Yes. So, see? Good plans. Not the worst idea.
It wasn't especially purposeful of an idea, but it was something. And it's what we have.
Fate and chance and fortune have been on our side for most of our lives. I don't think that's changing now.
You think that this was fated?
We were trying to be careful, and yet...
I like the idea that we make our own destiny more than just fate or chance, but I'll allow it.
Been on our side. We still do a lot of damn work. But it helps a little.
I'll give you that. We were destined for greatness, and we're going to be given what's necessary to be destined for greatness. That I know.
We are. Now get your lobster that you're not eating in the middle of the desert.
Oh my God. I don't know if I can have the lobster. Not after that. Not after that. I'll get the steak.
Okay.
I can't do the lobster. I thought about it. I did. But every time I do, I just see that picnic table and the smell.
What
were you thinking?
I'm really hungry and just wanted to order nice things. I didn't know how long.
I got 2 bites in.
I didn't know.
I should be given a medal for that. For endurance.
Yeah, Wrath and Tears' safe word is lobster thermidor.
We'll get through this, and we'll make something amazing. I know this.
True.
We just have to find out how.
One step at a time. First step is the proving grounds.
Yes.
Or maybe trying to get you to Metropolis the way that Bethany took me, that we went together.
I want to find a way that isn't that. Every time that you guys have gone, it's always been you've lost your control. That's my worry. I came
out of it perfectly fine.
Didn't you also have worms?
But she needs those.
She wants to make a finger for me.
It's the metal. It's the Metropolis metal. I know it's awful and
it's kind of awful.
Metal is metal, coke is coke, slag is slag. When you melt it down and you make a new thing, it's just as strong. It's as strong as that new thing is supposed to be. It's just raw material. You're a steel baron. This is just a kind of steel.
I've not usually put steel into my body.
Don't think about where we got the steel. We're just going to melt it down and use it.
I'm willing to try.
Yeah.
I've missed having a pinky.
Wow.
Fine. I'm more gently worried about how much I had to use to get there, but it was fine in the morning, and we made it through other than the thing attacking Bethany in there.
We should find out whether or not that's something that's going to harm you. If you're going to do it again, we need to know, Clara.
Maybe if I just drink a lot. A lot.
Maybe.
Enlightenment is a weird journey. You know, you've got to throw a lot of trauma spaghetti at the wall. So, don't discount any terrible decision at this point in the process.
Yeah, having someone who both wants intense control over everything in his life and himself, and also in a situation where breaking through the illusion requires a certain loss of control. It's the whole thing.
Yes.
I'm like, oh no.
She kind of gets quiet as the waiter comes over and we order food, and it's like, we're not going to talk about magic and Metropolis and weird metal worms,
Yeah. Let's talk about he'll actually bring up your show again so that you can while the person there, it never hurts to spread rumors and to get hype up and have someone overhear the possibility of a grand new show that might be existing at some point. He's got hopes, big dreams.
High hopes.
Eddie was excited about it, kind of.
But I think that like for a little while, at least after that, he's definitely going to kind of like hear the conversation more just like them and trying to have some like intimacy. He loves Bethany so much, but the three of us have been in very close quarters for quite a while, and there's not been a lot of like alone time.
Yeah.
And like, I'm not going to take up the like, you know, hour of schmoopiness that is about to occur, but there's like an hour of like schmoopiness. Don't give me that face of that. And eventually we actually do have to move forward. But no, like there's a certain element of like, while they are playing footsie and giggling like when they were young again, there's a certain level of like just enjoying being with each other that I think like where he kind of like sets aside like the business level. And it's just like, I have missed just being happy with you. And I have missed just giving you little pieces of my steak and asking for pieces of whatever you got, as long as it's not lobster. Please God, not the lobster. And making you try that horrible drink that you ordered for me, because if you order that for me, you have to take a sip. I will not force either of us to have more than one sip, because
Clara likes sweet things, and she's kind
just
of
a whole lot.
Hormonally, like she probably likes it. She's like, I didn't expect dessert, but
yeah. Hilariously, like looking at that on an OC level, I would probably love that fucking drink. Matthew's like, whoa, this is just not what my palate is here for, because I have not experienced the delightfulness of very sweet drinks much in my life. A travesty, really.
Oh, she probably got the spring lamb.
What's that? Oh yeah.
Spring lamb. So
then he will absolutely try some of your spring lamb.
So sharing nibbles of food, and as she has 3 more glasses of champagne and the rest of that drink, probably gets far more handsy under the table. And unless Matthew stops her, she will give him a hand job right there under the table, because she likes to make him make that face. And they're acting like they're young.
They are acting
they're
like
teenagers. They're teenagers
again.
They're absolutely.
It really depends on how out of the way they manage to get a table, and like the likelihood of like the problem that may occur. I'm not
deciding that. I'm like, you guys get to pick how dark and shadowy your table is.
I'm gonna say right now that like Matthew's probably also a few drinks in, and quite frankly, like his level of self-control when it comes to Clara is very minimal. And so I feel like he absolutely is like, yep, we're doing this. This is happening. This is where we're at right now. I'll just put a napkin over things and it's fine.
They have snuck around for years.
Yeah, they've got this like down to a science. They've got this down to a science.
Yep.
Somewhere Bethany is like, I'm so glad. Just nods to herself. I made the correct choice.
Yeah. Bethany over here thinking equally healthy thoughts about like a fucking...
Oh. Yeah, she's like, I'm glad
about a redacted.
Yeah, she's like, I made the correct choice.
Yeah.
Not that.
Thinking warm thoughts about
Yeah.
All right. So looks like the second and third course happen at the same time, so to speak. And yeah, heyo.
You're welcome.
Yeah. So as you guys talk, one of the things, like a couple of quick like calibration comments.
Yeah.
When you guys are thinking about the proving grounds, there's a couple of things I want to reinforce, and we're going to go over this again later. The proving grounds is hella big.
Yeah.
It is immensely gigantic. So it is not like one building and then a football field. It is many square miles and many buildings and tunnels and entire bases. And so it is a huge, it is almost like a city within it's almost like a military city. And also, you're thinking a little bit like you're playing D&D.
Oh no.
And you're not thinking like you are a family of generationally rich steel barons.
Okay.
During the Cold War.
I mean, part of what like Matthew's thinking about when it comes to like Clara's trying to get information is that he wants to use whatever information she gets, not like in driving around, but like he knows how Clara gets information. But like basic information so that he can basically use that to better get, and that's why he was saying like, I want to use whatever you can learn from this guy to get control over pieces of this, because he basically wants to go at this with an economic way, like by getting involved in the higher ups, getting involved in that stuff. And his viewpoint is if he knows what they want most, he can figure out how to get them to give him what he wants.
Yes.
If that makes sense. And
yes.
so like it's less a thing of like Clara is gonna like stealth in and more sort of thing of like Clara is going to stealth in to his heart, let's call it heart instead of being lewd.
She's gonna give him the old Matahari treatment.
Yeah, like basically to get the information, because like the way that they team up with this sort of thing is that like she's great at like pulling out that information, so to speak, and he's very good at then using that with like the power and wealth that they have. And I think that was the goal, but I'm not sure if we got that across properly.
Okay. I was hearing words like sneak in, and I imagined very much like literally sneaking in through a cut in the fence. And it was like, no, you're rich. It's
we buy
terrible,
that.
but like you're rich. You can go in the front door. You just have to call the right people.
Yeah. And I think that it's sort of the aspect, if you were going to describe this mechanically, like Matthew needs to know the right influential friends to call to be able to get them able to walk into that front door, and Clara's ability to get the information that's necessary for us to know that was sort of the idea, I think.
Okay. So it's like trying to do a maze from the beginning and the end and find where they meet. Like Clara is going to try to, get some information about who's the real movers and shakers, and Matthew's going to try to find those names through his influential friends. Is that the process?
The idea that I kind of had was like, because if you just go in blind without knowing who to talk to, you might think that the people who are the movers and shakers are like these people. But often, especially in governmental things, especially in things that have like layers of security, the people who are actually in control might not be the front people. It might be the people who are behind those people who are actually the ones that you want to be making those calls. And that's what Matthew's thinking, right?
Yeah. All right. I dig it.
Especially after his first heinously bad experience coming into like the Tropicana, not knowing what the fuck he was doing. Because again, like he's used to knowing everybody and everyone knowing him. And he knows that he's at a disadvantage here.
Yeah. Well, yeah, he's at a disadvantage in that the playing field is relatively even, and in Matthew land, that's a disadvantage.
No. He's like, how dare I not have automatically the every door open to me as it should? No, like,
yeah. If you're not on a dais, you're in the dungeon. I
mean, welcome to privilege.
Yes. Oh yeah, it's super gross. Like
it's disgusting.
Yeah. Like you have enough money, wealth, and connections to essentially like get invited to one of the most secret places in the United States. Like that's a terrible thing to be able to say.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And just to supplement, it's feckin' huge. Someone on the stream, thank you very much. The Nevada National Security Site is 1,630 square miles.
Holy shit.
Wow. That may be a modern number. I'm not going to pause and look up like a but I mean, just for reference, like even if it's only 1,000 square miles in 57, like.
Yeah. Yes, that is far larger than I was thinking even. Okay. That puts
it is mind-bogglingly large.
Well, I hope the handsome man who I'm seducing will show me important parts and the fancy things and not just some random buildings.
Okay, apparently 1,630 square miles was from 1951. So,
Wow.
Old.
so
I feel
Alorana,
like-
thank you very much for giving us
Yeah.
that information. I appreciate
thank
it.
you. Yeah, like it's gonna definitely be like, I feel like the stuff that Clara is wanting to look at is like a combination of like the physicality there, but also finding out like Matthew will definitely be like, you need to find names. Like
Yes.
Yeah.
in with copyright infringement aside, a man needs a name sort of like idea. Like you need to know the right people.
Yeah.
And pillow talk gets you a lot. He's hoping it doesn't have to be pillow talk. He's really hoping. He's gonna pretend it's not.
Okay. He's just going to lie to himself.
Yeah.
So we went to a drive-in. We drank milkshakes. It was great.
He's like, yeah, we're just gonna pretend that
Yep.
this was.
It's fine, Matthew. You're the only one I give hand jobs to underneath the table.
He's not really sure about that. He's not, but he's like, we're gonna save that to a later time. But yeah, so they will have a lovely dinner. They will be like their terrible young selves. And I know that we had talked a little bit about that they were wanting to do a dinner and a show, but I wanted to check in on that.
Well, weren't you supposed to go at least talk to Mr. Clamenza?
That is true.
We could go support his business and see what he's doing. And if you two end up talking work, great. If not, we're just going to be casual good friends and respect your buddy who you are taking advantage of. And need to keep control over.
I wouldn't call it taking advantage of so much as making sure that he understands who holds the power in this situation, which we've done at least a couple of times, and we will continue doing, because we want to make sure that he remains more worried and afraid of us than his current employers until they become his previous employers, which is our goal.
Yeah.
Because we've got that whole problem with the remnants of the Phoenix Society is how
Yes, you do.
Matthew likes to think of them. We don't
Just
know how remnant
just a bit
it
of
is.
mopping up.
Yeah, like but yeah, the one of the things that he's become very like, one thing that has been stated to him multiple times basically is that the only real way to get into this power is also to have power in the mob. And so he is trying to basically weasel his way into that. And Clamenza is an excellent tool for that because he is someone who wants to be powerful but can't without having someone above him.
Yeah. It's not always like I have to work with the mob, but at the very least, I have to factor the mob into the power structure that I'm engaged with. So even if it is, I need to place myself in a position where the mob is not inclined to make my life any harder. Even if it's just making them energy neutral in your dealings, you still have to do something to handle the profound amount of organized crime that's happening in this area at this time.
Mm-hmm.
So let's go to his place, see one of his shows, and if he's there, you two can talk. We had a good dinner. It's been too long. I would kiss
We
you
need to
if
do
I
this more
could.
often.
We do. Love you.
Make time. I love you too.
You're getting the check, brother dearest.
I know.
All
I would
right.
hope.
Mm-hmm.
As awful as that was for all of us, I think Matthew and Clara feel a lot better
You do.
in many ways. both physically, ecumenically. So I'm going to say recover some stability. If you're missing any, recover 2 stability.
That's nice. Yay.
Because it's a recuperative kind of toxic.
I was gonna say, like, it's terrible, but it's their kind of terrible.
Well, yeah, and that's what's interesting is, I won't pull up the book and read it, but whenever I read the stability and the way the relationships interact, is it doesn't have to be healthy.
Yeah.
Like, it just has to be reinforcing and grounding.
Oh, they super reinforce each other, so that is certainly accurate.
Yeah. Yeah, a study in what, enabling or an enablement?
Codependent enabling is what I would call it. Yeah, you could definitely. If you want to get specific.
Yeah, somebody's undergrad paper is in these two.
I feel bad for that person, but
yeah.
But yeah, so I think that I know that Clamenza has had various shows that he kind of has backed.
Yes. The problem, air quotes, with Vegas is that it's full of shows.
Yeah.
And so when you're the mob, it's almost easier. Like, for example, the Tropicana, it's almost easier to engage in legitimate business if you want to be in showbiz. But there are places that are private clubs where the rules are a little bit lax and the people that bring you drinks are conveniently deaf, blind, dumb, and have no short-term memory, or at least for enough money that's possible. I'm going to say that somewhere in your contacts with Salazari and talking with Clamenza a couple of times, kind of off camera, that we've established a little bit of a relationship. You guys know where there is a place, at least one, where it's a private place, it's a private club. You say Clamenza sent me.
Yeah.
That kind of thing. It's like, I'm sorry, sir. I don't know your name just by meeting you. I hate to insult you, but can I ask your name? Yes, of course. It's Matthew Van Horst. He goes, oh, okay. Sticks his head in. Oh, please come in. Please come in. Please come in. That kind of, that sort
method of opening doors.
Yeah. It's a classic name check.
Yeah.
Now, David's not allowed in here, obviously.
David can stay with the car.
Okay, so he's with the car.
Yeah.
All right.
We trust that David will get to us if necessary. And also I assume that Clara has her purse loaded.
Yes.
Her purse is loaded, yes.
Her purse is loaded. And
she's loaded, the purse is loaded.
And Matthew is inherently loaded. So we're good.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Well, I was just thinking in between the scenes, I might make the roll for drug addict. See,
probably
is she itching?
Yeah.
Because she's had enough alcohol that control is.
Go for it. Make it worse.
Okay, no, 13. So
okay.
Kind of itching, but not really awfully.
Only mildly worse.
Only mildly. So that's okay. If she just keeps drinking, it'll go away.
Yeah, if you keep yourself from sobering up, probably, and as long as no one uses around you, or if any of your patterns of use don't reach out and snare you, smell of a pie in a cartoon style.
Yeah.
You should be okay, but
so she doesn't have to stop back upstairs for just to freshen up. Fine, we can go straight over there.
Yeah. And it's a turn and a turn off of the main drag. It's not all the way into excuse me, sorry, thank you. It's not all the way into where the shack was. It's not on the edge where the endlessly hungry desert, you can actually hear it gnawing at the buildings. But it's over there. Certainly you can see the shape of mountains and things. It's once again, it's a nondescript, kind of vague-looking building. It's a modern building, so it would probably be brick that's been pointed and painted. The door is very nice. The suit that the guy is wearing at the door seems very nice. He is a good doorman to a private club, in that he doesn't immediately look like a doorman to a private club. He has, there's a little bit of a slouch to his shoulder, a little bit of a lean. He is holding a cigarette, but you also notice that it never goes up near his face. There is never, like, in the couple of minutes that you interact with him, the cigarette never goes up to his face, i.e. he never obscures his vision with smoke.
Ah.
Like, he's very professional, but in a subtle way.
Okay.
Then you drop your name.
Mm-hmm.
He lets you in. He's very polite. He has no really recognizable accent, aside from kind of like the melange of Las Vegas. So it's a very cross-country international city, and so it hasn't really developed a really strong. It's not Pittsburgh.
I'm like almost wondering if it's just basically kind of like that mishmash of transatlantic, or is it something else?
Probably not as strong as transatlantic, but the idea of transatlantic is very similar. Yeah.
Okay.
Like I am not whatever ologist that knows about speech patterns and accents and the regional development of them.
I mean, neither is Matthew, so it's not like it's especially relevant.
Yeah.
Oh no.
Oh, something just happened.
Ha.
Well,
Oh, we lost Ben, maybe? I think.
yeah, we lost Ben.
Okay, that makes sense.
I'm fine.
Sorry,
I'm an
Ben.
idiot.
Okay. One moment for everyone.
Indeed.
Yeah. Sorry. I made the terrible mistake of looking at the book and then closing the book
No.
and then hit the wrong X.
Well, that happens.
Yeah. You should have heard the swear words I used whenever I realized exactly what I did, when all of a sudden the little Zoom box
There we are.
was in the middle of my screen and it wasn't my friends' faces. Okay. Thank you, Curtis. Thank you for being able to do things that I wouldn't be able to do. Please respect your back of house. They save your ass when you are dumb.
Yep.
So anyway, glad we got that out of our system. So the second act, now drinks, maybe dancing, maybe a show. When you go in, it like a month and a half ago, before you guys ever came to Vegas, if someone said mafia gambling den, you would not have thought of the beautiful, light, airy Tropicana with its white walls and its warm tile colors and its staff. This is what you think about when someone says mafia gambling den. It's stepped. The first area it's not quite a restaurant. You think you could they might have a sandwich. You might be able to get a sandwich, but it's mostly booze.
Mm-hmm.
There's a bar area. There's some seats. Everything is very smoky. There is a few tables here that are clearly, they don't match. They're clean. They're well tended, but they don't match. What is it? Spinny ball, roulette.
Roulette.
Oh, yes.
There's a roulette table or two. It's kind of, it's an illegal gambling den.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a stage in the corner. It seems like there's like a three-piece band just kind of noodling over there, providing some live music. It doesn't sound like any, it sounds like a soundtrack. You go in and that vague, a little bit of saxophone and a little bit of trumpet and some piano tinkling up and down some scales. It just sounds like that for now. Yeah.
Yeah.
But there is a microphone set dead center front of the stage where absolutely it appears that at some point someone is going to come out here and sing or be announced or something.
So what's the, like, do we know what the nature of the show is going to be?
You could ask. It's I mean, there's a full wait staff here. It's so you ask, actually, Matthew, what I want you to do is I want you to roll something. So find your dice for me.
I got them.
And I want you to roll. Get somebody to tell you what they're not certain they want to tell you, which isn't actually the name of a roll.
I mean, I would assume that is influence other.
Yes. Yes. Good enough.
All right.
So that is plus charisma.
I'm glad my charisma is high.
Because your dice are low?
I mean, yes and no. I got a 1 and a 9, so they are both. So that's a 10 plus a 13, or plus a 3, so 13.
Okay.
So
that's not terrifying.
Not terrible. Yeah, if I had charisma 13, but no.
No, that's fine. You find out that there are 2 shows.
All right.
There is this show, and it's a lady and this 3-piece band. They're going to sing some songs, just a very classic, evening entertainment sort of thing. And then there is an after hours show, which sounds a little spicy.
It sounds a little spicy, I'm not going to lie.
Yeah. And had you gotten a 15 or up, you probably would have gotten a very thorough description. But with the middle of the road, you absolutely find out that there's an after hours show, and then it seems to be, let's agree on the word transgressive.
I mean, he'll definitely show interest. And when I say show interest, I mean in the form of money. Like he'll basically, state to the person that he's curious about hearing more, and he will give them like a slightly higher tip for like when they're bringing that next drink. Okay. While he does so, to kind of like give the idea of like, if you tell me more, I will continue to do this.
For real. I mean, just basing it off of the menu that we all just looked at, it seems to me like a $10 tip.
Yeah.
Would be not very unreasonable, but certainly enough to garner goodwill. Because
he's not trying to, and there's a reason why I didn't like state the exact number, because I, out of character, don't know the currency of the time. But the idea that he's trying to give is, this is an amount that is higher than you're used to, but not so high that it comes off as weird.
Yeah.
Because that's my big thing, is like he's trying to somewhat blend in as like a well-off person, but not like necessarily like holy shit.
He's not new money. He's not spending money to be flashy. Yeah.
The idea of and also the aspect of like, he's not an idiot who's easy to take out. Because that's the big thing. Like when you start like throwing around massive amounts of money that's way higher than you need, you start looking like you're basically someone who's like an easy mark. And he doesn't want to do that.
Yeah. And it's also probably triply on Matthew's mind being in Las Vegas, where there's a lot of literally new money, where there's people
he's dealt with that.
Where people that literally just had a stack of money counted out to them at a casino window, and they don't know what the fuck to do with themselves. And you're like, what, you buy businesses with that? What the fuck are you doing?
Yeah.
So yeah, but he knows how to do that. And I think that's fine.
Yeah. So I think that's sort of like how he asks for like a further amount of information if he's able to.
Okay.
Or at least to be shown to like where it is if he won't be given more information.
Yeah. It seems like the place closes
Okay.
at a certain hour, and then it doesn't.
Yeah.
So it's very much, it's kind of one of those
After hours sort of
like,
parties,
we're
I guess.
closing, last call, thank you very much, please get your coat. But for some reason, like, a quarter of the people just never seem to leave, and they just stand around talking, and they've kind of, maybe they've got their coats over their shoulders because they send most of the staff home.
Mm-hmm.
But then, you know, the door shuts and those people don't leave, and whatever happens next happens. It's that classic back room after hours sort of vibe.
Then he will continue to tip in the way that he has been, because that was sort of the implication that he was given.
Yes.
And he will enjoy the show, certainly, the current one, because, you know, it's going on. He's not going to ignore it. That's really and I think that he's also going to take some time to, like, is this a moving around sort of venue?
You could if you want. I mean, there are several places. There are people that get up and move around. This is clearly a place where some people just show up, they drink, they watch the show, they go home. Some people want to gamble, you know, and you can absolutely, as you look around, you see at least 2 or 3 officially shady deals being done in tables in the corner, and that kind of the heads leaning in, and that kind of thing.
I think that one of the things that he's going to want to do, and he'll kind of murmur it to Clara, is their usual sort of thing of where they split up, they work the room, they make sure that they can identify the people they want to interact with later on a more, like, personal level, and to kind of get their faces and names out there as, like, people that are wanted to be looked for later. Like, basically making a good impression is what he's trying to do, and they often will kind of team up and split up that way. We've done it many a time.
Yes.
Absolutely. There's no really any individual people to meet here. Like, there's no one to add to your mental Rolodex, aside from at some point you're going to see Clamenza.
Yeah.
But to add anyone to the Rolodex, there isn't really anyone here. It's you collect another dozen names, you shake another 2 dozen hands, you meet people, you recognize somebody. It's that, you know, it's the groundwork. He's
certainly going to talk to Clamenza at some point. Like, he's not going to just be like, oh, it's Clamenza.
Absolutely.
But, like, his statements are going to be solely about the current show, because he doesn't want at this point to give away that he's staying, because the fact that he what he has learned with Clamenza, at least, is that the element of surprise puts Clamenza off kilter, and when Clamenza is off kilter, he is more likely to be agreeable. He's more dangerous.
Yeah.
But he's also more likely to, at least in the experiences that Matthew has had, he's more likely to be overwhelmed by Matthew's force of presence.
Yes, that's super true.
And, like, it's not like a thing, like, and so he's not, he's his entire thing that he's been trying to do with Clamenza is to kind of have Clamenza see him as an authority figure. And a lot of that has been through keeping Clamenza slightly off balance, but always being just so friendly and so helpful. While also kind of making the understanding of, I will always know more than you think I do. And I will always have more power in the situation than you think I do. Because eventually there's going to be a situation where Clamenza is going to have way more, like, on an astronomical level, power than Matthew does in that situation. And he wants Clamenza to have that moment of, I'm not sure how much power he has in this situation comparatively to mine, because so many times I have thought one thing and, like, it's ended up a different way. if you want me to like put it in a very blunt terms, essentially Matthew has been, over the course of like the few meetings we have had with Clamenza, consistently gaslighting him. If you really want to make it like clear, like it's horrible, but like it's kind of true. He's putting him in a situation where he's going to always be unsure of whether or not he's going to have the upper hand, because what Matthew has seen so far is that Clamenza doesn't like to put himself in a situation where the risk reward is completely unknown.
Yes. He
Right?
only likes black boxes that he's in control of.
And if he can make a situation where like Clamenza basically is like in the worst situation, right? Because Matthew always thinks of contingencies.
Mm-hmm.
The very worst situation when like Matthew has nothing and Clamenza has everything. He wants to make sure that Clamenza takes that moment and goes, I'm not sure.
Yeah.
And that may never come up in this game. But Matthew always is like, I will make sure that this person is unsure, like it will never be prepared to pull that trigger.
But it's such rotten, awful groundwork, and I love it.
It's the worst, and it's very much it's really taken from capitalist business practices. If you want to like look at it, like it's that idea of if we go back to like union busting, if we go back to like all like making people uncertain of if they have the upper hand, is a massive way that you're able to destroy collective action. Speaking as someone who's out of character in a union, like this is what people use against people like me in an out of character situation. And thus I am like, I will use this for this horrible person.
Yeah.
Again, guys, don't let people who are like this fuck with you. They're bad people. Collective action. Trust each other.
I hate all of it, so I think it's perfect.
Oh, it's just the worst. He's gross. He's really gross. It's a very privileged move also, because it requires you to, for the majority of time, actually have the upper hand in a way that is unfair.
Yes.
Like it really does require you to be coming from a privileged position.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's yeah. I don't feel like I want to comment because you said that so conversationally, but on the other hand, it's generally what I want to say is like what he said. Because you did a really good job of explaining everything that you were thinking. I feel
it's
like
just made him gross. I'm so sorry. I feel like legitimately a little dirty about explaining it, but like again, that's just how that works, and it's real gross.
It is. It's super terrible, and it's perfect. We'll get to Clamenza in a minute, though.
Okay.
Because we are going to have an actual like talkie.
Please do.
Have you ever seen the movie Dark City?
A really long time ago, I think I saw like a trailer.
Okay. Oh my gosh.
Seen it.
If you like cult, watch Dark City. But there is a scene in this where I'm drawing a lot of the visuals where there is a smoky jazz club and a lady starts singing. And it's got like a 3-piece or a 4-piece band behind her, and it's a slow, sultry song. She's got one of those over the shoulder dresses, another lady in red. I don't know. Maybe it's a theme. But that is this show. So it's very much the classic, very pretty lady with a very nice voice is supported by, 3 to 4 male musicians, and they do like an hour-long set. It's generally music that you both recognize. None of it sounds original, but it's nice. It's a pleasurable experience. Matthew, just for the sake of narrative, you've kind of been hanging around in the back of the room because that's where your flavor of movers and shakers tend to end up.
Okay.
You're over there in the shady dealings by the bar area. The smoky cantina where Greedo is.
Yeah.
Right.
Whereas shocking absolutely zero people, Clara is where the performers and the extroverts are.
Oh yeah.
So Clara, I do want you to roll. You know what? Don't. I'm just going to give it to you because it's a thing that's important, and following the rule, if failure isn't interesting, don't make it a possibility. So, Clara, you've had a weird life. You've had an extremely privileged life. And that privilege has given you a lot of opportunities to do some really stupid, rotten fucking things in your life.
Yes.
The amount and quality of drugs that you've been able to consume, the protection from the consequences of those drugs that you've been able to enjoy. These are all parts of the privilege of your upbringing and of your social station. And let's be honest, of the terrifying amount of money and power that your brother has wielded like a woodsman's axe on your behalf at times.
Yes.
So it hasn't always gone well for you, has it? New York was not always a perfect city for you, was it?
No.
And so when you get close to the stage and this very pretty girl who's probably, how old's Clara now?
Like 38-ish.
Okay, 38. So about 15 years younger than you. Right at the real bleeding edge of infuriatingly younger.
Yes, yeah.
When she does about 4 songs and then stops, there's applause. She takes a drink, lights a cigarette. Vamps the crowd. How are you all doing tonight?
Yeah.
You know, that kind of, that intermediate thing. But when she picks up her glass and, you know, breaks up the ice in it and takes a sip, while glaring at how perfect and smooth and immaculate her skin is, you recognize something, which is the very distinct use of makeup to cover bruises around her neck.
Oh. Interesting.
And all in a rush, the fact that you are in a, not literally, but figuratively, underground, illegal mob casino or gambling den. Suddenly, those words are now boldface and italic.
Yep.
And you know that probably no one else has ever had to cover up bruising before going on stage. You know, no one has ever suddenly found out that there was a costume change between the last dress rehearsal and the first live night. And all of a sudden they have to cover up evidence of heroin use.
Yep.
In a fucking hurry. You've had to cover up bruised knees and spreading bruises on your legs from falling down, or making poor decisions, or having horrors foisted upon you that we will not really go into right now. But Clara has a lot of experience in covering up bruises before going on stage, and so her experienced eye lets her see that.
She is drinking heavily, gambling, like vice feeds vice. That's how she relaxes with people. And unless there's, honestly, she probably was drunk enough to not really notice. It was like, unless there's literally not a single other woman gambling at the tables, which is distinctly possible, she's going to go play at the tables, even if that's kind of uncouth.
The ratio of a male to female is probably something like 20-1.
Yep.
And almost all of the already under-ratioed females is arm candy.
Yep.
You know? And in the context that has unpleasantly wedged itself into your brain, you are almost entirely certain that amongst the more capitalistic vices, there is probably also sex work.
Absolutely.
This is unhealthy, bad, dangerous, desperate sex work too.
Yeah.
And it just kind of, it's interesting, isn't it, Clara, how just a small change in perspective can rewrite a place.
Mm-hmm. And she has a moment when she sees that it's the first time tonight she realizes that maybe she's in danger, or maybe they both are. Like, this is a dangerous place, and splitting up and not being protected by Matthew's nearness and gaze and by being his arm candy, but kind of being her own independent woman is weird and will draw attention that she maybe doesn't want.
Yeah. You've seen some, you definitely, I mean, Clara is an attractive lady,
mm-hmm.
or and not to downplay, her physical appearance, but Clara is a lady that exists, mm-hmm. and therefore has received a certain amount of intrusive male gaze. And her low-cut dress that she wore for Matthew tonight, and her general vibe has certainly done nothing to reduce the eyes on her.
Yeah, I mean, she still has object of desire.
I was about to say.
Yeah, she do. She do. Would you like to have that be a potential complication in this moment?
Yeah, I am totally fine for it. Like, if Clara has to murder some guy who follows her outside, she'll be fine doing that. She hasn't done a violence in a while.
Yeah.
And she is also curious about, like, this girl is infuriatingly young and prettier and all of that, or just at least more useful. But there's somebody abusing one of the performers. And so she's kind of gone from jealous to stage mama protective of who the fuck hurt this girl. And if they try to come after me too, I will teach them a fucking lesson.
All right. I am entirely comfortable with the deep and profound annihilation of shitty people.
Yep.
All
right, well, I'll do a roll. 17. So, I mean, unless it's more interesting, but she doesn't have, like...
Well, you don't... The blossoming, jeepers creepers, the blossoming, post-human, preternatural draw, that beginning of that succubus siren vibe that Clara has been working on isn't apparently shining through in this exact moment. I mean, she's still a beautiful woman in a very nice dress, and so engenders the amount of attention that would normally gather. I mean, you have had to move some hands away from hips and butt. Yeah. A couple of the excuse me when there's 120 feet of space behind them.
Yeah.
Like, you've gotten all of those. You've definitely had to shut down the beginnings of a couple conversations of, like, what's your rate?
Clara hates that.
Yeah, that's real.
After the second one of those, she's gonna go find Matthew.
Yeah, and you know what?
She's done being alone in this club.
That's fine. And just because I like making everything worse, because this is the one place in my life that I just get to deliberately make everything worse as opposed to accidentally. Matthew, the second "what's your rate" conversation, in as much as it was only like an exchange, like boing boing boing, like three plays of ping pong, you saw it. Because it was absolutely, a guy was sitting at like a blackjack table, and they're using just for something different, like the rectangular, larger chips.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, my brain's calling up Casino Royale and those big rectangular chips that they used. But like, he had a stack of them that looked like a decent amount of potential money. And he got Clara's attention. Of course, she's Clara, so she's going to go over and schmooze. And as she starts schmoozing, you watch him move 2 of the tokens in front of her.
Oh, wow.
And do this like, and kind of do, and you can, he didn't be like, hey, what's it cost for a blowjob in this place? But it's definitely that kind of like, you know, what's your cost? You know, it's very polite. I mean, in terms of soliciting an escort, it was actually an extremely polite system, but he still absolutely solicited your fucking sister.
Oh, yeah.
And when she's like, and she kind of does, and you can see her because you know your sister, and she does the body wiggle of that, like, oh, you know, like, you know, I'm going to make myself sound like I'm super sorry to say no. And I'm going to use that I'm super sorry body language. And then he looks at her and kind of like some of the shine comes off, and he puts 2 more tokens on the stack.
Do I have any tokens? Can I have some tokens?
You're Matthew Van fucking Horst. How many tokens do you want?
Yeah, like I'm basically going to come up next to her and like put a very platonic hand on her back. And look at the guy and put down like twice as many tokens. And say, like, and just like look at the guy, like, because of course I'm not going to speak to my actual sister, who is the woman being involved in this. Just look at the guy and say, my sister doesn't need me.
Say that again for
my
me?
sister doesn't need any of your help. And just put down like twice the number of tokens. And just like, make eye contact. It is aggressive eye contact.
Matthew, I want you to roll. You don't know what it is, but I want it to be plus soul.
Let's go. My soul isn't so bad.
Yeah.
I hope that having a high number is good. I rolled a 17.
Nice.
And my soul is 3. So it's a 20.
Okay, so empowered by the apocalypse, you rolled a fucking 20.
Yeah.
Lord it. No one will ever know it was you. And this person, not poor. I'm not using conciliatory language with this shithead. This fucking guy.
Yeah, a good way of description.
Yeah, fucking guy number 87 in the credits. Will probably never understand what exactly happened. But as you very blatantly claimed your sister, in front of this person. Yeah, doing everything but branding and peeing on her right there in the middle of the fucking club. You watch, because so he hasn't done the all the way look at you thing. He's kind of doing the John Wayne out of the corner of my eye kind of vibe. This is all like fucking stupid testosterone posturing.
Oh yeah.
This is all like stupid tree dwelling monkey bullshit. And you can watch as the eye that he's been like eyeing Clara and then giving you a hairy one.
Yeah.
Cataracts over.
Oh shit. I made a choice.
Like, because in your head, you said, I don't even want you to see her. And his eye cataracts over. Like it ever see one of those super cool hot packs that's clear and then you clicky the metal thing in the corner and the crystals spread out. It's like that, but his lens.
I want to say that Matthew's horrified by what he may have just done, but he really just feels real good about it.
Yeah. Like he should probably feel bad, but he's mostly just like, yeah, bitch, you thought.
Yeah, basically, like it's really like I had this moment where I was like, would Matthew feel legitimately like, oh shit, I did a thing. But I feel like he would definitely just be like, you know, toxic masculinity say, ooh, good. Like, I feel like he just feels like very validated in what he just did. Like, clearly this claiming is appropriate and right and justified. And both my sense of rulership of the situation and also of the woman that I like have claimed as my own, which is super gross. And I want to put that out there. But like, he just has like a whole personal moment of like, yep, this is appropriate.
Yeah.
Clara feels loved.
As I'm not going to say as you should, but I'm going to certainly say that's a predictable emotional response. I think we can all agree to that.
We'll all agree that that's predictable.
Yeah. It's kind of weird because sometimes I want to use the language that like supports the character choices, like as is understandable. And sometimes I just want to be like, no, this is so bad.
Welcome to KULT.
Yeah. Understandable.
She takes the money and goes, thank you, brother dear, and leans over to kiss his cheek in a totally platonic way.
Yes, he accepts this completely platonic kiss.
Yeah. Clara, there is, when you come over and kiss Matthew on the cheek, there is in that moment a little bit of heaviness on kind of like this part of your dress. Like up here, kind of like on the neckline. It's on your dress. It's not on your skin. It absolutely feels like your dress has gained like 1.5 ounces of weight. And when your hand goes down there, it is Matthew's circular brass tie clip.
Oh.
His mark.
Mm-hmm.
The one he got from your father at your father's funeral. The one that is a circle with strange and inexplicable lines carved into it. The same circle that was in the secret room in your father's basement.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that one. The thing that Matthew had in his hand the first time he did anything that one could consider preternatural.
She like grabs it and then makes certain that it is clipped to her dress because she does not want to lose that, but also looks up to see, is it a double? Is he still wearing his, or is it the one that must have fallen off or somehow?
Matthew, were you even wearing it tonight?
Oh, absolutely. He always wears it. Like, I literally put this on like OC level. I always put on my like thing when I wear a tie. So I'm wearing that tie clip.
Okay. What you see, Clara, in this moment is a circular glinting that you could convince yourself is the tie clip.
It's smoky in here and hard to see things and odd, but she makes certain the one on her is quite visible and in a safe spot, and she's proud to wear it.
It is, and what's interesting to the both of you is that if you're not looking at it, you can't really see it.
Can I sense it?
Yes, as a matter of fact, you have an incredibly good sense of exactly where your sister is.
I want to say that Matthew would be like, oh no, but like I feel like he's like excellent.
Yes.
Yes.
Like there's actually going to be a moment somewhere in this conversation that you guys can weave in the spot that it's appropriate. But Matthew Jedis you at least one point, Clara, where he starts talking as you like come up to his side.
Mm-hmm.
And like before you say anything or put your hand on his shoulder or anything else, all of a sudden he just like, he starts talking and he shouldn't have known you were there.
Interesting. All right. Yeah.
I feel like this just ups his confidence, which already is in a place that probably shouldn't be, but like he's feeling good.
Yeah. Nothing makes toxic men feel better than a fucking GPS.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was literally what I was thinking. I was like, oh God, this is exactly, he's like, oh, I love this.
Yeah.
Everyone should if only everyone saw this in the way that I do, so they know that I have essentially claimed this lady. And I'm just like, oh my God. But no, like, I think that it isn't even something that he like is fully analyzing or recognizing in himself, because of the fact that to him, it just feels so right
Yes.
to have
I
like
dig it.
laid claim in that way, because that was basically what he was doing. And so I feel like to him, it's not even going to be something that he analyzes until later.
I love it.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm
Before
noticing,
Clamenza, should we take our break?
I was about to say, I'm noticing that we're kind of at our pause point, and I feel like that makes it makes sense to pause before like getting into the deeper level.
Yeah. This is a perfect like halfway through the episode commercial break, like as the Thai class transfers and
No, that works
everything
really
else.
well.
Yeah.
So we're going to be back at about 9:45, and somehow we're going to make this worse.
Good.
So go drink your water, and we will see you in about 10 minutes. Welcome back. Before we leap back into the Van Horsts and find out additionally how terrible they are, I want to let you know that if you're not on the Discord, you are missing some of the internet's greatest memes being produced in real time by our single-person team of extremely talented and dedicated meme crafters, who will absolutely receive a drink, alcoholic or otherwise, of their choice when I am ever in their personal space, because they deserve it for making us all smile. So there should be a Discord link showing up in chat, and you should join it because they are incredibly good at what they do.
It's delightful.
It is. It's the best. And if the bruises on the singer's neck weren't a giveaway, we're going to get into some dark and abusive places at this point. So we care for you. We care for your mental health. We care for the mental health of the players. We care for the mental health of the people that are watching it. Some incredibly talented and handsome guy at the beginning of this said, use your safety mechanics. So make sure that you're doing that. So there is your warning, earnestly meant and lovingly given. And so now let's get into it. The show, the stage show seems to end. The show had one of those classic arcs of tempo where it starts a little slow, then it picked up to a couple of faster songs and there isn't really a dance floor, but there's enough space for maybe a half a dozen couples to do the classic, cheek to cheek dance sort of thing. A few slow songs played.
Claire's definitely drunk enough to try to get Matthew to dance at least one.
Oh, hell yeah. Matthew, where are you at?
Matthew is probably not that drunk enough to do a cheek to cheek dance, because
we put a proper he'll do at a wedding.
He'll do one that's like a brother sister dance at a wedding, but he's not going to go full on couples dance.
No,
that's where he's at.
We'll leave some room for Jesus.
I was going to say leave room in the middle for Kether.
My God.
Yes, leave room for Kether.
My God.
Goodness gracious. Okay. So a dance that everyone made do with and that no one was particularly satisfied by,
essentially,
passes. And then, the romantic songs stop and they go into kind of a couple of slower songs. Those kind of, the show is ending and we're cooling down the crowd. And you have both been to a lot of these places that has a full wait staff and there's people, and you can recognize the way the tables, the dealers at the tables are gently wrapping things up. You hear those, not much left in the night, time to make your money back.
Yeah.
Those sort of calls and that very fantastic social structuring that the wait staff and the staff of a place can do starts to happen, and you do see a couple of people. There's some coat checking is happening and some goodbying. And this is your chance, actually, at this point, to touch base with Clamenza, at least to start.
Yeah.
Because now at the end of the night, you've seen him a couple of times, and he's given you the he holds his hand up and gives you that I see you. You're important to me, but
Busy.
I'm in the middle of running a business.
Yeah, no.
And I'm sure that at one point, I think we can agree that he came by and like Matthew, he gave your shoulder a squeeze.
Oh yeah.
That like, hey, good to see you. Good to see you. Look, things aren't, it's crazy here right now, but let me buy you a drink. Don't you leave without me buying you a drink. That sort of, know how those,
absolutely.
You know how the neurotypicals do it. And now he comes over and he greets you both very warmly. This seems to be kind of like, I know this is going to incite the shit out of Matthew, which is why I'm going to say it this way. This looks like this is his place of power. And like, this is his dingy little nightclub.
Oh, absolutely.
This is, he's middle management. He's a helper. I mean, as much as he's a man with power and authority, he could probably maybe try to have you killed if he really
absolutely
feels compelled to. But at the end of the day, he's got a very dedicated service mindset.
Yeah.
So what he likes doing, or what you can tell clearly in the couple of other places you've seen him, this is where he's happiest. And he's got that energy of someone who's like, I'm doing a bunch of stuff, but I love it. And I'm going to go to bed super tired tonight. And that's okay. That's where he's at.
Okay. And Matthew will play up to that. He's not going to try to shut that down. Like he'll glad hand back and he'll be like, it's so good to see. This show was fantastic. He'll make comments about some certain parts of it.
We've had the nicest night.
Yeah.
Yeah. She greets him with the European kiss on the cheek and very warmly, happily playing off that energy.
Yeah. It's very friendly is how he's going.
Yeah. And, what's interesting is it's the fact that he spends a lot of time with 0 and first generation Italians.
Yeah.
Definitely comes to the fore, because when you guys are very vivacious and vibrant and high energy and a little bit louder.
Yeah.
It seems that that's what he's used to.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And so definitely after the kiss on the cheek and a really earnest handshake, Matthew, you could tell that in this moment, if you would let him, he would give you a hug. Not out of any emotional connection, but it's just, he's one of these, I'm in a good mood. You're here. You're in my place. I've clearly fed you. I've given you some drinks. He's personally connected to his service.
Yeah.
So
I won't stop him. Because if that's a way to connect with him, Matthew knows the importance of connecting with those that you want to control. So
yeah,
he will give those carrots out. There's a certain level of glad handing that he has been taught. And it is a very different kind of glad handing, but part of it is it reminds me a little bit of when we were talking about the meal in the coals, right? When they would in the steel fountain.
Yes.
It's that same thing, right? I'm gonna meet you where you are. These are these things that make you feel good. I can be someone who sees you for what you are.
Okay.
Right? He's doing that.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe a middle ground of the
shake
the right hand, grab the left shoulder.
It's definitely
not
he's
torso to torso, but
Yeah, it's also that man hug of the bump, bump thing.
Yeah. Okay.
There's certainly he will. One thing that he's going to definitely be doing is praising Clamenza. His love, we had a great time. We're loving the music, et cetera, et cetera. He's making sure that Clamenza knows that he sees him in his place of power, and has appreciated this, and has enjoyed the service that he has been given by Clamenza's nice, so nice nightclub.
Okay.
And Claire,
You
your singer is excellent. I would love to be introduced to her. I know she's probably exhausted, but I'd love to at least give her my best.
His face goes on a bit of a journey when you say you'd like to meet her, and you can watch like the joie de vivre leave him.
Ooh.
When you say I want to meet her. He's really good at hiding it. He's exceptionally good at hiding it, but there's that definitely, like, when you said I'd like to meet the singer, some part of the decision-making process, like some part of like the thought cascade that went through his mind that you just flicked the first domino on, took some of the wind out of his sails.
Interesting.
And he, for the first time since you guys saw him tonight, he kind of waffles and said, well, I'll see what I can do.
Sure.
I mean, you have so, you know, and Matthew will basically be like, I'm sure you'll be able to work your miracles, and like basically kind of like, again, playing up the praise and stuff like that. And essentially being like, I'm sure you'll be able to do it because you're so good at this, because you know, you just, you know, have everything under control here.
Okay. Yes. The one I do have a variable that we need to factor into this. And the variable is, how much money have you spent here tonight?
A good
like on a scale of 1 to 10, 1 being like bare minimum, 10 being a business economy damagingly large number.
I want to say 8, because of the fact that it's higher than like normally it'd be like a 6, but it's higher because I had to like whip out my possessive dick at that one point. So I feel like that also would have upped the amount of money that he started spending just to kind of like continue that claim. So I want to say an 8. It's not like, oh my God, like this is absurd, but it's definitely on the high end of like, well, that's a choice.
Yeah. That's like, Clara, go fuck up the high rollers table. Here, clunk.
Yeah, and she did, and was 4 sheets to the wind by the time she was really sitting down and playing. So probably wasn't her best gambling self. So probably lost a good chunk of that change that Matthew gave her.
But also, into consideration, I feel like that honestly works. Because also, you guys owe Clamenza a little bit because you have been borrowing his doctor. At odd hours on late notice.
Yep. So happy to pay it forward, backwards by losing money at his tables.
Losing money at his tables, and it's already pre-laundered.
Yeah.
You know, it's you know, if you just give him like a briefcase of cash, like, here, thank you. He's like, okay, great. Now I have to go give this to someone and tell them to lose it at the table.
Yeah.
Like it's you either deliberately or inadvertently performed the correct ritual of repayment for that, for which he is thankful. And I'm sure that has a large portion to do with his current mostly boisterous mood.
Yeah.
Because he feels like now you are in a cycle of reciprocity. You know, and maybe in his head, he thinks that he's coming out ahead. Who knows?
Let him feel that way.
Yeah, to dream the impossible dream. So, yeah. Is there anything specific that you guys want to get out of this conversation, or just make small talk?
I feel like Matthew wouldn't be trying to push until after we see what happens later, because that's when it's going to be a different situation. So like right now, his goal is to act like they are just here for a very normal, good time, and that they're just having a delightful, you know, thing that I guess is like ending up. But like, you know, he's not going to like, again, like it's that sort of thing. Like he doesn't want to give away the fact that he knows that there's anything more going on, and more wants to use this as the, we're just so impressed and happy with you moment. Okay. Because that will create more impact if later on we have to not say that.
Yeah. Okay. I think that's great. Now, are you going to try to leverage into being allowed to stay after?
I think that at the end of the conversation, what he'd probably want to drop is, I can't wait to see what's next.
Okay. All heavy with import and laden with meaning. Okay.
Oh yeah, and like he will make it clear that he's like not.
Yeah, and his eyebrows waggle and the whole 9 yards. One or both. Okay. A lot goes through Clamenza's eyes at that moment. And if you want to roll whatever you think would be appropriate to either try to get him to vocalize what's going on or to intuit or empathize with what kind of a spiritual journey he just went on, I leave it up to you. Because you guys have some advantages and stuff that I don't have memorized.
Yeah. With what ones that, because I have the one that automatically gives me, are you lying? Which isn't a huge one, but right now. But I feel like
read a person, just looking at the basic moves, read a person looks like the right one.
Yeah, like I feel like, especially because of the fact that Matthew doesn't want to come across as trying to pry for information right now, because he wants to seem like he has the power and the knowledge, and that means you don't ask questions. I think read a person makes more sense for Matthew. I don't know what Clara wants to do though.
I kind of want to. She's playing your mole right now, so if I can roll to help you, because she's just giving Matthew backup. She's being sweet and charismatic and pretty and interesting, but otherwise is giving Matthew all the power here.
And I respect the way you're looking at that, but I don't want you to feel like playing your character concept means you can't roll your own shit.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
I was going to say, I would love for you to also do either influence other or read a person, because like the two of us rolling, one of us is going to be more likely to actually get it.
I think she's going to do influence other than, because she's working on making him support Matthew.
Okay.
So that's kind of how she's giving the backup to Matthew, but is kind of like, no, you did so well. I can't wait to see what's happening later. I keep, dropping things and giving the big, excited, interesting eyes of like, we will sit here and continue giving you positive attention if you let us stay.
Mm-hmm.
I got a 9 and a 6, and I have, it's cool. What is read a person? It's intuition?
I can ask all the hard questions. Yes, it's plus intuition.
Okay, so I have a 1 for intuition, so that is a total of 16.
Yeah.
I have automatically, are you lying? Which I guess I'm not really sure whether or not that's...
I'll let you know if and when he does.
Yeah. And then I guess the questions that I would have is, how can I get you to let us stay?
Okay.
Would be one of the questions.
How can I get you to? Yeah.
Yeah, well, to let us stay. And how do you feel right now? I think is the other one that's very good. That or what are you about to do? I'm not sure which is better.
Well, they line up fairly well, because clearly he's not particularly thrilled with the idea of you two staying. Yeah. That caused no small amount of immediate panic.
Yeah.
And also something akin to embarrassment.
Sorry.
Like,
he's embarrassed we're going to see his naughty show.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, it's definitely like that, like, if you guys stay, then you're going to see quite possibly literally the seedy underbelly.
So the question that I would have is for the how can I get you to let us stay? Is there like, I feel like if we know that and I can somehow translate it to Clara, that could help her influence other.
honestly, I'm comfortable with you guys being in sync enough for Clara to pick up on the play that you're making.
Yeah.
You know, and so I'm content with Clara, with you intuiting enough, and for Clara following, you know, paying attention almost more to Matthew than to Clamenza.
Yeah.
You know, because Clara knows the way Matthew's body changes his position and posture when he's like, oh, I just learned a secret.
Mm-hmm.
Like, oh, I just got a little piece of power. I've seen behind someone's wall.
Yeah.
You know, there's that little bit of that, like, that predatory big cat butt wiggle almost in the like in the shoulders, that kind of like that, ah ha 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 ha. And he does that. And you're like, oh, I'm not entirely certain what Matthew just saw, but Matthew just found a lever.
Yeah.
And it is pretty clear that it is inarguably clear that Clamenza doesn't want you guys to stay. But also there's a lot of fear. Like, it's not just like, oh no, they're going to see something dirty. He's like, there could be consequences for the Van Horsts staying late.
Oh, now we really want to stay.
Yeah.
I know. Yeah, I know what's going to happen. Like,
what did you get for your influence other roll?
14. So
Nice.
if you actually give me a +1 somehow, like if we were in that same.
That was my question. Is because we're in sync, can we have that +1?
yeah, you know what? I'm going to give you that +1, but I'm not going to tell you where it's from.
I'm good with
Okay.
that. I'm good with that.
Sounds good.
That's fine.
Clara
I'm sure it's not a problem.
She gets advantages. She just wants advantages. Doesn't matter where they come from. It's fine.
All right.
Fine.
So influence other at a 15 plus, they just do what you ask.
Yeah.
So what specifically do you want?
Oh, I know that I've heard the show is a little dirty, maybe a lot dirty. I worked in New York City, baby. 10 years. Things I have seen. Naked, clothed, singles, couples, and otherwise. You're not going to bother me. We can't wait to see what you have in store next.
Do you remember when you took David to the fights and David got to go for walkies and Matthew, like, damn near literally, like, pulled on a psychic collar and settled David's hash, and Clamenza was there, and we just said his name like 12
Alistair
times.
Westmith.
Alistair Westmith was like, had his hand on his shoulder.
Yeah.
And it was super tense and things were about to erupt in violence. And Matthew de-escalated it in just the way where he's like, I am putting the pin back in my grenade, but this is my fucking grenade.
Yeah.
And it is only going inside my coat. Like that vibe. And the moment when you went over and Clamenza was just like, he told me to do it, please don't hurt me.
Yeah.
Like, his shoulders do the same thing. And so there is a moment where between the gaslighting and the money being spent and the expression of power and all of the things that you Van Horsts have done to this extremely shitty, like, person who makes a lot of money on the backs of the suffering of other people. Like, let's not paint Clamenza with any prettier of a brush than he is. Yeah. And he just kind of deflates a little bit. He says, okay. Just, okay.
Matthew will give him a friendly and jovial clasp on the shoulder a couple of times and be like, don't worry about this.
Okay.
Cheers.
He actually gets a drink. Like, he goes to the bar, like, he excuses himself, has a little bit more talk. He also, before you took all the air out of the room, he did also like thank you for thanks for essentially, he used a lot of like, thanks for coming over. I saw that you guys were at the tables. It was really great to see you guys here. Da 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 da. I hope you did okay.
Yeah.
But what he really said was, thank you for paying me back for renting Salazari in a couple of inconvenient moments. You know,
Matthew's response to when he roundabout thanks us for losing, which is essentially what he's doing. Like, thank you for losing at our tables in a way that launders my money.
Yes. Thank you for pre-laundering my bribe. I appreciate it.
Basically, Matthew's response is, I mean, we just like being able to have the fun of the game. Doesn't matter whether or not, like, he's like, it was an enjoyable time. And it's basically him being like, we're happy to lose at your tables. My bad.
Like, the amount of money that made you happy was my walking around money.
Yeah.
Like, that's just what shows up every morning with my newspaper. That's just, that's the little people money.
It's a very similar vibe to when Clara taught Bethany how to play at the high roller table. Like, that sort of idea of like, this is the place that we go to teach our little, like, our sister how to play this game, is this horrifically expensive table.
Yeah. And every lesson is like a Cadillac.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. Like, here's a Cadillac, here's a Cadillac, here's a Cadillac. Oh man, it hurts so bad. I hate it.
But yeah, it's part of that is because, one, like, yes, Clara partially lost because she was sloshed, but he wants it to be an implication of this is purposeful. Yeah.
It's certainly that's what Clamenza expected.
Yeah.
You know, it works out that way in his head, and there's no reason to have him think otherwise. Yeah.
And now we have learned a thing, which is how we're supposed to bribe people.
That is one of the ways. If you need to bribe the house, losing money at the table is a great way to do so.
Yeah. And we legitimately just don't have the institutional knowledge of that. So, like, I feel like this was a learning experience for the characters.
Yeah. But it doesn't matter where Matthew moves his money in real business.
Yeah.
You know, it's like he may do there may be a little bit of a shell company shuffle.
But never like this.
Somewhere in the middle of it, but that's just, not like this. This is just straight up like just putting money into an invisible bag that eventually ends up, at least in some portion, in his wallet.
When Clamenza goes over to the bar to get drinks, Clara just does gently call after, besides, you said you would get us a drink by the end of the night.
And he says yes, and so he leans over to the bartender and does he like, get me whatever they were drinking, like, that hand gesture, like, see those two, just get them another one.
Mm-hmm.
You know that series of bartender, like BSL, bartender sign language, that makes that happen. And then he does taps the bar in front of him, like, give me a drink.
Yeah.
And so essentially you've got both of the bartenders over there in the moment, because when the boss comes over and leans on the bar, go over, you know. So he points at one and does the get them one more of whatever it is they're having. And then the other one, he taps on the bar. So they pull up, what's the round glass that whiskey goes in? Lowball?
Oh, tumbler.
A tumbler. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you, Eric.
Yeah. All of my drinks come in coconuts. So yeah, tumbler comes out, and a couple of big pieces of good pieces of ice go in there. A bottle, squeak, 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 and they're clearly having a brief conversation. You know, it's the bartender talking to the boss at the end of the night. I'm sure there's a bunch of, Yeah. And he starts pouring, and he stops, and you actually see, like, you can't see his hand as much as you can see his shoulder. Like, the force that he taps on that bar, that, like, you're not done pouring that drink yet. Like, you can, he's storing a lot of stress right here. Like, there's a lot of stress in that shoulder, and he has him going until he fills the glass up. like a kid drinking high fucking C on a 98-degree day. Like that tumbler is like surface tension is the lid on that tumbler.
Yeah.
And he does like half of it before he comes back over. So whatever the shaking, the mixing, the primping, the whatever it is you guys order.
Yeah. Claire's on to gin martinis at this point.
Okay.
Third, not shaken, because shaking weakens them.
Really? Or is that like mythology?
No, shaking a martini breaks up too much of the ice.
I was going to say it's going to make the ice get broken up, and so you get more water into it.
Yeah.
Alcohol is weird.
Yeah.
So in the process of stirring and whatever's and all of the other verbs that are necessary to make you guys each a drink, he drinks like a solid 4.5 ounces of whiskey. Just like he does the glass, makes a comment, does the other half of the glass, puts it down, lets some more of that stress in his shoulder out, and they fill him then a normal size drink. Like he's like, all right. But
I want to say that this worries Matthew, but instead it mostly just makes him feel really good. He's like, yes, I am the big man now. And I'm like, Matthew, no.
Yeah. A sensible person would be like, holy shit, what the fuck is going on that the gangster is worried about you seeing? But really, you're
Van
just
Horsts
like,
are the worst.
You're just like doing the like, I'm cake shit on Turd Mountain. Like that's all you worry about. You're in control and he's not. Like,
yeah. Like
while we're waiting for him to come back, Clara kind of leans over and goes, I wonder if this is another Phoenix Society ritual. That this isn't a dirty show. This is something. Howard means we might see the Westmiths. And he's looking awful nervous.
I think there's every chance that it is. And if it is, we need to never show that we're surprised.
Oh, not at all.
Or that, like, this is a problem. No matter what we see, Clara, we cannot show any sign of surprise or distress. And I know you know this. But that's what we have to do with this. Because I remember the last time. And it was also terrible. And if it's anything like that, it will be.
Yeah.
Fine. If it is that, all the more reason you need to be here.
And just like last time, we can always come back.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
She momentarily squeezes his knee.
Yep.
Hand back. Sitting up straight, looking casual and excited for whatever is coming next.
A good time.
Uh-huh.
So he comes back with the drinks. Like he has left his behind. He's probably going to go get it in a minute. But you see the little, the tumbler sitting at the bar. And he brings him over. He said, I did, and the drinks are perfectly made. There's nothing wrong with the drinks. And first of all, you saw them be made. But also, they're very well made drinks. Everyone here is very skilled.
Mm-hmm.
This is not a low skill establishment. It's just a low visibility establishment. Yeah. He says, look, the show, it's a little raw. If it's not to your liking, just understand that it's not really anything that I'm going to hold against you. It's not for everybody. And frankly, it's not for me, but not everybody gets to pick exactly what shows go on all the time. You know what I mean?
I do. It's just your club, Salvatore. Is it the Westmiths having you put a show on?
The amount of blood that leaves his visible body makes the non-committal he says an absolute yes.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah. Matthew will give him again that masculine friendship pat on the shoulder, the upper arm, and say, "Don't worry about it. It's all right." And whether or not we like the show, we won't hold it against.
He holds his hands up. He's Salvatore Clamenza has absolutely realized that he's not in any kind of control again.
Yeah.
Like once again, he is between the Westsmiths and the Van Horsts, and he has 0% power.
Yep.
And you're not entirely certain how many times he's going to let himself be in this position for doing something.
I mean, Matthew's goal is that eventually he can make it so that Clamenza will have to feel that he has to make a choice over which master is better. But we'll see where we go with that. Yeah. that's a long-term goal.
Yeah. Yep. Okay. So because I don't want to be here for another game.
Yes.
Yes. Let's work with this.
Let's talk about the fucking show. I am going to give another warning that this is as bad as you can imagine it's going to be. If you remember how kind of gross and terrifying Alistair Westsmith was the last time we met him. This is not going to be something that is entirely consensual. This is going to be bad. Mm-hmm. Players, I mean, my two dear friends right here that I am playing with, I am telling you that if you thumbs down or X or anything, that we're just going to stop. Okay.
I want to ask, because of the fact that we are streaming, can we be explicit on like the type of like trigger warning that we're giving right now, or content warning?
Yes, this is someone is going to be sexually abused in a way that drugs, air quote drugs, are used to inhibit their ability to consent.
Okay, that like, I know that like
it's a good because of the fact that we're streaming. I really want that to be something that is specifically stated, so that people can have the moment to be like, you know what, I'm gonna turn this off if they have to. So that's why I want to make sure. Yeah. And what we will do is, if you decide, first of all, if you're watching this right now, and if you're watching this on YouTube later, and you say, I'm done with the stream for tonight, I'm done watching this right now because this is not my happy place, every single person that you can see on the screen right now is at 100% of support of you. And we're proud of you for knowing what your limits are. So like, feel no guilt that you're like going to nope out of 20 minutes of heavy duty. Like, that's okay. And what we will do is, you're going to want to tell Bethany what you saw. And so at the beginning of next game, towards the beginning, we'll throw up another warning, and then we'll give a very brief, non-technical, non-descriptive description of what you experienced here, so that you can have the actionable data to follow the story.
Yeah.
But
thank you.
Okay.
I appreciate that.
No, good. It's a good question. I'm glad you asked it. This is, one of the things we said when we started doing the stream is we want to model consent mechanics, and we want to model okay check, and we're going to do all of that. And we're going to fucking do it. Because I'm proud of how good we done do that. Okay. So, the first person that comes out is being led. They're the singer, the nice young girl from before. There is a very specific way that someone realizes that something terrible is about to happen to them, and they don't have enough control in this moment of their life to stop it from happening. This is the look on this young lady's face. And she is being led out by a beautiful, very pale-skinned female with high cheekbones and kind of almond-shaped eyes, and this incredibly fluid, boneless grace that might seem familiar to at least two of the people here. And in the meantime, kind of the curtains have been drawn back, because the curtains were drawn and obscuring the stage before, so it was just essentially the front hemisphere, the little hemisphere of the stage. Now they are drawn back. Now there's kind of a low setting table thing there that looks like it has a tablecloth or something over it. The implications of the height and size of this table are clear. The girl is laid down on her back on it. She is wearing what looks like essentially a robe. It's the classic kind of big sleeved frilly robe, the dressing gown, the kind of like that classic Hollywood dressing gown robe. The other lady is wearing silks. It's difficult to really see what she's wearing. It doesn't look like it's got kind of an Arabian Nights vibe. And then it just seems like several pieces of like essentially see-through silk that are held on with a little bit of jewelry. And then following them out is one of the bartenders who has, if you're going to hate anyone on this stage at this moment, I want you to hate the bartender. Because the young lady in the middle of this crime does not have the ability to consent at this point. She is not mentally there. The lady in silks, we will find out more about them in a moment. But if you're going to hate anybody on this fucking stage right now, I want you to hate the fucking bartender, because the bartender's doing this as part of their job. This is just some son of a bitch getting a per hour. And he brings out a hookah. If you were watching and you were saying, why? Wow, that created a surprisingly strong response in the players. Yes, it did. And you can find out next game why, because we do not have enough time for that much exposition. Blatant bribe to watch next game. So I just got a message that someone rolled magical intuition and they got a 15. So was that
Alon?
That was Alon? That's what I thought.
I just didn't want to interrupt.
No, it was good. This is the right place, because then we can do the visual shift.
That was the reason why I wanted to, because I was like, oh shit, I kind of wanted to like wait until after, but then I was like, no.
Yes. So what you have now is you have in profile the victim. At her head is this lady in silks, and behind the lady, mostly obscured, is a hookah. What we're going to do now is we're going to look at this through Matthew's eyes, through eyes that are unpleasantly used to seeing through the illusion, that are used to witnessing the horrors that dwell behind the lie that is one of the most important components of the prison of humanity. And what we're going to look through his eyes now. So when we do, not much has changed. The victim is still a human. The stage is generally still a stage, but this lady kneeling above her head, almost as if like a nurse or a supplicant or a caregiver, is not a human. They are hauntingly beautiful. They are perfectly symmetrical, and not uncanny valley symmetrical, actually perfectly symmetrical. They have a shock of white hair that starts and goes all the way down their back in silken, beautiful, like it's like poured metal down their back. Their skin is marble, but the veins are not the blue of human pale skin. It's a purpley, greenish, almost iridescence. And they have open orifices or slits in their flesh along their cheeks, above their eyes, along their neck, and their collarbones running down their chest, across their body. And as this creature kneels, there is a small amount of silvery mist that leaves these orifices on its body. And the Azadeva, the creature crafted to do nothing but provide pleasure for its original masters and unshackled humanity, now takes the actual thing. It's not a hookah. It's just one pipe, one mouthpiece wrapped around a long hose, and she takes the other end, which is far too much like a needle for anyone to be comfortable. It's a large gauge. One could possibly consider its use for the insemination of animals. And she takes it and she puts it inside her skin, under your skin. You can watch the bulge along her collarbone as this pencil-thick tube enters into their body. And they pick up the mouthpiece of the not hookah and draws on it, and you can see the suction as this silvery mist that has been gently, beautifully, like perfume, kind of wafting from around them, now sort of starts to fade, as if where its essence is being drawn from is now being drawn from one place. And they draw and they draw, and they have too many ribs and they have too many vertebrae, and so it's almost a serpentine motion when their rib cage expands and closes as it draws air. And it draws and it draws, and then it's pull its mouth away as if it's siphoned gasoline, and you can see a of this silvery hallucinogenic aphrodisiac mist that you two know a little bit too well. And it kisses the victim and fills her lungs with the thing that makes her both compliant and unable to remember everything that happens to her. And over the course of the next few terrifying indignities, this creature continues to anesthetize this poor girl as Alistair Westsmith walks onto the stage. He is wearing essentially nothing. The only thing that he has on is what some might call a stole, which is the long single piece of cloth that drapes over some Christian clergy's shoulders, that goes down. It is bright, beautiful, royal purple. And it is covered in symbols. And at the end of each, so it kind of goes down to about the bottom of his rib cage, and at the end of each, it flares out. And there is a phoenix on each piece. And I refuse to go into detail as to what indignities this lady suffers. I will simply say that he ravages her. And now there is no question as to where the bruises on her necks are from. But Clara, very uncomfortably, he is making or attempting to make eye contact with you in some of the more savage moments of this experience. If you recall, he had quite a fixation on you.
She makes eye contact and picks up her drink. Is unsurprised.
Yes. And he visits horrendous insults, indignities, and horrors upon this poor girl that now, Matthew, looks far, far too much like your sister, but younger.
Yeah.
And yet again, another Westsmith uses the Van Horsts are terrible, uses things that are rightfully yours, this Azadeva, this creature of Metropolis, for their own fucking deviance. Deviance, says the man who has his sister pregnant, but deviance nevertheless.
It's complicated.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, like Matthew, with all that, I am actually going to roll to keep it together.
Go for it. Yeah. Respond however you want to.
Because like Matthew wants to like not show that he's fucking pissed and angry and like horrified. And to do that, to really fully do that, I think is an act of will for him. So we'll see how well he goes.
Let's find out. Let's go on the ride together.
Well, it was at least not a 9. It wasn't a 9. Like, it's better than that.
Okay.
So
plus willpower.
Okay, so that is a 12. So like in the middle, which is fine.
Yeah.
Especially because of the fact that you said that it looked a lot like Clara. I was like, I gotta.
Yeah.
I mean, I assume that I became angry. Might make sense, or obsessed.
That literally whatever I was going to tell you to pick between those two.
I mean, either works. I actually kind of think that obsessed almost makes sense because there's that aspect, the dual aspect that you spoke of, and I hate putting it this way, but
this is unhealthy Matthew shit. You're talking about how the terrible character you play is thinking, not the player.
But like using something, the Azadeva, a creature of Metropolis, that is supposed to be mine, to ravage someone who looks like someone who is mine. Again, like it is an aspect of, and especially with the Phoenix Society, of like a place which I was designed for, but I am better than, and that I should own. Like, I think that Matthew is going to get very fixated and obsessive about that. And it weirdly enough means that I have a +1 relation to Alistair Westsmith, which is a little weird. I don't know how that's going to play out. We'll see how that goes. But like he is going to have like that sort of fixation. I'll play that out, and we can talk after game about how that may play out. But I think that it almost is a very interesting mirror between how Westsmith is obsessed with Clara right now, and I am now obsessed with Westsmith.
It's not healthy at all, and I love it.
It's very toxic. It's very unhealthy. I'm here for it.
Yeah. Clara, Erica, you can just say it's terrible and I hate it, and we can move on to you guys leaving the club. Like where like you can interact with this more. We can stop game right now and go to debrief.
Clara's kind of leaning forward, showing some of that cleavage and making eye contact with Westsmith in a way that is almost a challenge.
Okay.
It's you picked somebody who looked like me, but you'll never have me. Even as you're doing awful things to this girl, this is what you want. Yeah. And I'm sitting here with him.
Yeah. You can assault my carbon copy all you want, but you'll never lay a hand on me.
Yep.
Okay. We're gonna
deliberately. I mean, it's late. She is trying to deliberately get him to follow her outside and try to do something, so she has an excuse to destroy the shit out of him. It might be too late at night for that.
I was gonna say it's 10:42.
That's a lot. I'm gonna recognize player intent and respect it, but then I'm also gonna say that we're gonna need to talk about that.
Yeah.
Because Alistair is a big mover and shaker.
Exactly.
And so lighting and then subsequently extinguishing that fuse is something I want to talk out. No.
Yeah,
but
it's groundwork that she's laying down, and he can have enough control to not fall into this like vaguely obvious trap. she's making his obsession with her deeper purposefully. But the very first night that she makes eyes at him like that, he's probably not going to make the move, especially after whatever he's done. So,
and he's also in classic terrible human way, getting a lot of satisfaction in this moment. So he's kind of like, yeah, okay, like later, but right now I'm going to continue assaulting the thing that looks like you.
Yep. That's fine. She's laying that groundwork.
No, that's fine. Yeah. Setting him up for his eventual downfall from his own vices.
Yeah.
Okay. Yep. I think that's it.
Yeah.
I think we've thought about that shit enough. I think we've gained necessary information and motivation out of it. We've had a chance to respond.
Yeah. I also suspect if Matthew, because he knows her pretty well, realizes what she's doing, he'll just drag her out of there.
Oh yeah. I mean, he's not going to give away the fact that he's not going to drag her out. But when things are over, we will unhurriedly leave.
Yeah.
Is Matthew. And with the keep it together, I think that he can manage that.
Yeah.
But like
we had a nice date night. Go home and Yeah.
There is absolutely nothing healthy. There is absolutely zero things that you can do that are healthy in response to this. Like whatever the response
There's
is gonna
nothing
be,
healthy that we ever do.
Yeah.
Well, like at one point in the first game, you guys ate a really real meal.
That's true.
Yes. This is true.
And you did not eat room temperature lobster. And I feel like those are the only
one thing that if we were going into debrief, one thing that I do want to check in on is how are you doing, Ben? Because that's a lot.
The last scene I want to do is like the last scene of the episode in our classic storyboard style is I want you to tell me what you look like when you get in the car.
Okay.
Like just give me 30 seconds. And so when you open the car, we are now in David's perspective where the camera's looking over David's shoulder where he's been listening to a ball game or whatever as you guys witness these atrocities. Like, so he's just, never gonna give you up. Like he's just hanging out with the bop of the day. And so when the doors open and you guys get in, give me 30 seconds of what that last scene looks like.
Clara's happily drunk and in her charisma zone. It's awful when she's like, the old man is obsessed with me. I am still sexy. But that's where she is.
God. Okay.
Sorry, I need a moment.
Erica, I love you. Like that is the perfect, perfect Clara moment. Like that was a 100% in character response that hurt us all.
She's gonna go home and seduce her boyfriend brother and finish their date night. So she's in a great mood. She's had like 6 martinis over 4 hours.
I think that because Matthew is now obsessed, Matthew is very composed. He will get in the car. He will open the door. He will have Clara go in first, as is appropriate for a lady. He will go in after her. He will tell David in a very calm tone, like, that, to
back to the
home.
hotel.
He will place a hand on the knee of Clara, who he loves. And like everything is very meticulous. Just like going through the motions of like, this is composedness, this is control. And like the entire time he's just like, there will be a time when I will destroy everything that this man loves. And I will take everything that he desires. And I will look him in the eyes. And I will say that he is nothing before he dies. And I will have him believe me. And in that moment, all of this will be fine. And like, that's where he's at. So he's like in this weird sort of like, I don't want to say Zen calm, but like this sort of thing of like, I see the road ahead of me. And I don't know how I will get to this destination yet, but I have full, almost delusional confidence that I will get to that end. And I know exactly where I'm going. And all I have to do at this point is figure out how to get there. But I know that people like me get to where they need to go.
Okay.
And that's like sort of where he's at. So like he's very sort of like outwardly calm in a very uncomfortable fashion.
Yep. Yeah. Okay. So let me send it home, and then we'll go into debrief. You two are very focused on each other right now, and you're either looking at each other or you're looking within, as you do a lot of very serial killery logistical considerations. So neither of you notice your murder angel, like looking through the rearview mirror and just smiling, and the smile is all chrome, and it's all fangs. And when he smiles, like you don't see it because our saliva is clear, but that little bit of saliva that is on your teeth, in his mouth in this moment, as the illusion fades, it is motor oil mixed with blood. And he smiles and he turns up the radio just a little bit, just enough, in that way, that perfect chauffeur way, that like, I'm going to turn up the radio just a little bit, that none of us have to talk to each other, or you two can have as private of a conversation as you possibly could in a 4-door, non-divided, non-limousine car.
Mm-hmm.
You guys have snogged in this scenario more than once, and it's Atom Bomb Baby by the 5 Stars. She's just the way I want her to be, a million times hotter than TNT. And roll credits. Okay, yeah, you can uncover your eyes, guys.
Yeah.
Okay, so how are we? Let's, like, for realsies check in. Are we all okay? Like that, we can vague, but also that was very intense. So what's our comfort levels? Within our comfort levels, do we find ourselves sneaking up on a red or a yellow that we didn't know was there? How are we feeling?
I'm feeling good. This was totally in my comfort level. That went heavy towards the end, but the describing it as ravaging and atrocities, not actually describing it, I think I was good. So yeah, that was a good way to handle that. So we didn't hit anywhere near my limits. And Matthew and Clara are real enablers for each other. I'm glad that they got a night. I'm glad that they had a date. Clara's very happy. Clara's like delighted. She's knocked up. Old guy's obsessed with her. Brother's cool with this now. We got a date. There was nice food, and she's drunk.
Yeah, he knows I'm pregnant and he hasn't left me yet. Clearly everything is fine.
Fine. That's where she is.
Yeah.
She is.
I'm going to get laid and do some heroin and go to sleep.
Yeah.
I'm good. I really appreciated the like coolness with me being like, can you be more specific? Which I know you were gonna be, but like it's always like I feel good about that because of the fact that, especially as someone who is a guy, whenever there's something like that, I really want to make sure that everyone is comfortable and everyone is like having a moment where they can like
correctly gauge the next few moments.
Few moments. And for me, like both like I know Erica very well, and I know Erica's comfort levels very well because we have played in games together before. But it is very important to me in a sense of like personal responsibility when we are in a Twitch stream to also make sure that everyone who is watching this is okay. And so like I feel very good about how you did that. I think that the way that you portrayed it was respectful, quite frankly. Like it is very difficult to run a scene like that and make sure that it is respectful and not titillating, like in a gross way. And I am definitely, especially like, you know, with how media sometimes portrays these things, I was ready to, if it went into a direction that I felt was that, I would have absolutely felt comfortable from how you talk to me and how we do our safety mechanics to have been like, this is getting into a place where I feel like it's going into a zone that I wouldn't be comfortable with. And so I appreciated the way that you did describe things and the way that it was done in a way where even though it was a sexual act, it was not sexualized, if that makes sense.
Yes.
That was very important to me just as a player. Yeah.
Especially with how many sexually unhealthy behaviors there were in the game. Like there are in the story. Well, Matthew and Clara, and let's be honest, Bethany and the lady in red,
absolutely,
like they have a sexual relationship that is not healthy. Like they are not okay. No. And so I really wanted to make sure that this act of violence did not get the same razor's edge of gross and squishy. Like I didn't want to do that, like uncomfortably titillating using that language that gives complicated feelings. I wanted people who heard the scene to understand that this was a horror visited on someone by a human monster.
Yeah. We play with a lot of very razor's edge sort of themes. And I think that generally one of the things that I have liked is that when we do so, we are very aware of that. Generally, my greatest like discomfort in a game happens when someone like does a thing or describes a thing that I think is inherently unethical or really fucked up, and then like acts like it's just like okay. And I don't know, and like I don't know, like, is it your character that thinks it's okay, or do you? Which is, I think, why I try to explain a lot of like the fact that I feel inherent discomfort with how Matthew acts because he's made of toxicity, and I really appreciate that we all do that and that we all like acknowledge that. Again, if you're a Van Horst, you need therapy, and if you're a Van Horst, you're probably a pretty horrible person.
Yeah,
and I appreciate that in this game because we are playing with inherently toxic and very real. Like we put them to like soap opera level like extremes in a horror game, obviously, but like very real horrors. And I appreciate that we're all very responsible with it. At least, I'm not trying to toot my own horn in that. I'm more saying I appreciate that people are, from my perspective, behaving at least responsibly in how we try to portray these. And I think that's very important in a game like this.
Yeah.
So like for me, this though it was in essence some really horrible stuff, I feel like it was done as responsibly as we could do it.
Yes. But I also don't think there's anything wrong with saying we approach something heavy well and respectfully and thoughtfully. I don't think there's anything inherently like prideful about saying like, hey, you know, I feel like we did all the right things. Like when you said, can you be more specific? That is one of those things that as soon as you said it, it was absolutely correct.
Yeah.
We absolutely need to clearly put some signage on this road so that people know exactly what they're checking into and out of. Like I was, you know, as soon as you said it, I was like, yes, of course. Like that's exactly what, like, there is always that, you know, it was a conflict in me about letting the players and the characters experience the moment, naturally, but
Yeah.
also as soon as you were like, no, like we and they need to know more clearly what we're about to experience, it was like, yes, of course we do. Like it was one of those, like, you know, the scale went clunk to one side, and I'm fully in support, and I applaud you for calling me out on that.
I mean,
because it needed to be more specific.
For me, if it was just the three of us or just the four of us, if Kate had been here, I probably wouldn't have asked for that, because we all know each other very well at this point. We've been playing this game for quite a while, and we know each other's ability to X out or use the check-in system and things like that. And we've gotten that level of trust. But it was, for me, a thing of, there's an added responsibility of disclosure in some ways when you are streaming.
For fucking sure. Yeah.
That I felt was that kind of like raised that, because like I don't want to shame anyone who, like, if they're in a group of people who know each other really well and they feel that they are able to be more vague, that's fine. But like, that was why I was like,
yeah,
this is important to me as a player because of the fact that I want to be responsible.
Yeah. And we have said before, we have every intention of showing and using any safety mechanics we need to use on the stream. Like, we've negotiated, we've done all of that stuff, and we've done it on purpose.
Yeah.
You know, we do a lot of calibration, a lot of discussion off screen, but we also leave some of it here because, I don't know, I think we're fairly good at it. And we think that, you know, showcasing that, and I'm proud of it, you know, and I'm proud of us for doing it with the clarity and the maturity that we do. So.
I did want the all-ons question to you, Ben. How are you doing?
Yeah, that was the thing that I wanted to, because you yourself are a player in this. You're the ST, but you're also a player.
Yes. I'm fine.
Okay.
Cool.
I do not have a very good face for I'm fine, but taking what we're talking about seriously. Like, I don't have a facial expression for that. So like, maybe I look worried, but I'm fine. I didn't do any descriptive prose that messed me up personally. You know, it's the only thing that's even remotely bugging me is you said you need to be more specific. And I was like, oh yeah, I need to be more specific. I need to remember to, you know, be more specific with hazard signage. Mm-hmm. You know, to continue the road for. I just need, you know, you gotta label your stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm going to say also, Ben, like, it's fine that you, like, I wasn't even going off your expression, because like the two of us at least are both non-neurotypical, and expression tells you very little in the end, because that's an aspect of guessing, right? Like, I like direct words.
Yes.
And that's very important, like, for me, is to have, like, let's be specific. So
yes.
Thank you for telling us that you are good, and I am glad that we are all solid and feel safe.
Yeah.
So I'm good.
I mean, yeah. And if you're watching this, I think that was a pretty good start to finish example of safety mechanics. You know? So yeah. And you can touch on terrible stuff. You don't have to be explicit, or like, you don't have to do a moment by moment description of something. You know, Cthulhu was a lot scary before we found out he was a dragon squid man. Horror dwells in the implications and in the unknowns, and in the reveal. But really, the reveal was the fact that it was an Azadeva and West Smith. It wasn't the verbs that West Smith used to damage that young lady was not the reveal.
Yeah.
So the next game we will go into why an Azadeva is very important.
Yes.
Yeah. It's like, I would never tell anyone not to communicate with people that they care about, but I really hope that I get to see, like, Kate and Bethany's raw fucking response footage.
Oh, it's gonna be good.
Yeah.
Because she is gonna blow the top off a fucking building, and I'm really excited for it.
Yeah.
So next game, we'll be in touch with Kate. We'll figure out exactly in what moment we want to come back. We'll find out if Bethany has done the dumb with one whole evening by herself, hashtag unsupervised.
Yeah. Yeah.
And we'll move forward.
All right.
So are we content with our at least on-screen debrief? We'll do a check-in probably tomorrow or Tuesday, like we always do.
Absolutely.
Make sure there wasn't anything lingering.
Yeah.
I'm good.
All right.
Awesome.
So,
All right.
please get on the channel. Please join the Discord. Apparently, Adam, otherwise known as the Vampire Interpreter, we just got a couple new channels. There's a couple new games starting. Fucking Warhammer Wrath and Tears. I am excited about this a normal amount. It is Warhammer 40,000 has not been a hyperfixation of mine since I was 12. That's not true. So I'm hyped to see what they do with that. As always, there's a bunch of shows. And I'm going to shamelessly show for the fucking Patreon for Curtis's sake, the dude who saved me from Xing out of Zoom in 30 seconds or less. The guy who makes all of the graphics, who does all of this, all of this cool stuff that you're seeing over here, the logo, mirrored, the logo, and everything else. They do a lot of hard work, and just join the fucking Patreon. It's worth it, and their labor is worth it. And also, he is retooling the Patreon. He is futzing with things. He is trying to make sure that the cost to value ratio is skewed heavily in the Patreon's favor, because that's who he is as a person. So if you are a Patreon, send a message through Patreon or talk to Curtis on the Discord or do whatever it is you want to do. Tell him what you want to see. I mean, we're not saying 100% of it will happen, but if you say if you tell us what you want, what you really, really want, Curtis will think about it. And we'll see what we can do. If you want to see a different show, if you want to do interviews, or you want to see something, or you want, just whatever, if you don't ask, we'll never know that you want it. So yeah, voices in my head. Is there anything else you'd like me to add? Okay, very good. The voices in my head are content. So you're welcome. So yeah, that's it. We're going to call it for tonight. We will be back in 2 weeks where it is. Oh, Jesus.
The 12th of September.
September 12th.
Yeah.
So I can't. Yeah, I'll really look forward to doing heavy role play with New Yorkers on September 12th. That'll be lovely and not at all fine. But guys, use your fucking safety mechanics. They're there, they exist, they're in the book. They're there for a reason. I'm glad that they're there, and I'm thankful for the people that made sure that they were there. So yeah, we'll see you in 2 weeks. It's only going to get worse from here. And yeah, all right.
Cool.
So we'll see you in a bit. Join the Discord and keep your eyes on this station. All right. Thank you and good night.
Bye.
Play safe, watch safe. The safety mechanics are for you guys too. Always do the right thing for you. Thank you very much. Now on to the thing we just warned you about.